Have you ever escaped an abusive relationship only to find yourself rejected by the very people you thought would welcome you back with open arms? Or maybe you're sitting in a church every Sunday, smiling on the outside, but you're dying on the inside because you're experiencing exclusion or cold shoulders. In today's episode of the Flying Free podcast, we are answering two raw and emotional listener questions. One woman is struggling to rebuild a relationship with her family of origin after abuse, only to be met with guilt and silence. And another is being completely shut out by a Christian clique in her small church. And she's asking the question so many of us have whispered in our own pain, what did I do wrong? If you've ever felt unwanted, unseen, or unworthy because of someone else's brokenness, this episode is for you. We're going to unpack emotional immaturity, spiritual bypassing, and the healing power of boundaries. So get ready to feel seen, heard, and a whole lot stronger. Today, we're going to take questions from listeners. Now, if you're a listener and you'd like to ask a question that I might be able to answer here on the Flying Free podcast, go ahead and head over to my website. It's flyingfreenow.com. And if you put a /339 in the URL, so flyingfreenow.com/339, go to that page and then scroll down and you will see a place where you can press a button and record a message to me. Now, I'm not able to answer every question, but if it's a question I haven't covered before here on the podcast, or if it's relevant to our audience, then I will potentially answer it. I do record 2 to 3 months in advance, so I wouldn't necessarily look for your answer to your question right away. If you do have questions that you would like answered in real time, I answer questions every single day in my community forum, The Kaleidoscope. All members have access to me every single day. That's not the case with all programs like I operate. A lot of times the founder is not in the community every day, and you still get a lot of input from other community members, but I am in there every day because I love it. I love interacting with my members. It is my full-time job. It is my passion, and I would love to have you join us. The cost to be a member is less than $1 a day. You can learn more about the courses and workshops that I teach, the coaching, the Q&As that you'll have access to, and the daily support if you go to joinflyingfree.com. I also want to encourage you, if you're regularly benefiting from either the podcast or these videos, to please take a second to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment. Why? Because it tells YouTube that this message matters. And it helps more women like you find the support that they deserve. If you're not already subscribed, hit that button as well. Many of you found Flying Free because other people left ratings and reviews, and the algorithm then said, oh, this must be a relevant podcast or a relevant YouTube channel. So let's recommend it to other women who are like this one. Now, this might have been the way that you found Flying Free. I don't know, but this is definitely one way that you can pass it along to other women. You may not know these women, but they exist. They are out there just like you were out there, alone in their homes, lost in their confusion, and praying for a miracle. And your contribution in this way could be the way that they get their prayers answered. All right. The first question, if you listen to the podcast on a podcast app, you will hear the person ask the question, but this is YouTube. So I'm just going to read the question for you and then I'll answer it. So the first one said, hi, Natalie, I'm having an issue with my family of origin. When I was with my ex-husband, I wasn't allowed to have a relationship with my family of origin. He isolated me from everyone. And when we separated for good, I reached out to my family. In the beginning, they seemed happy to have me back in the family, but now over a year later, I've been told that there is a lot of resentment and hurt from my family of origin that I chose him over them. And I don't know how or what to do other than to tell them that I'm sorry and I'm not going to do it again. But it just feels like my family are also non-believers and there's just no forgiveness for my past, wrong decisions, and no grace. And it's very hurtful. All right. So here's the deal. Our listener spent years in a relationship where she was isolated from her family of origin by her abuser. That's a classic abusive tactic, by the way. Abusers often isolate in one way or another. It's not an accident. It's not a quirk. It's control. It's an abuse tactic, plain and simple. So then she gets out, which, by the way, is a brave, beautiful, and courageous step. And she starts reconnecting with her family. At first, it seems great, but then the aftershocks hit. And sometimes that can happen. Things come up for people after the initial, reaction of I'm out now. And her family basically says, yeah, we're still mad that you chose him over us. Boo hoo. I'm being a little bit sarcastic there because, well, I just want to pause right there. And first of all, recognize that choosing him was not the free, autonomous choice that they think it was. All right. This person was groomed. This person was isolated. And this person was trying to survive. So it wasn't a choice. It was something that happened that she did to survive. And the fact that they don't understand that, that says more about them and where they're at, maybe their education around abuse, than it says about this person who wrote this question. So this person does what a lot of people in healing do. She comes back, she apologizes, she shows up in spite of the fact that she was the one that was victimized here. And she says, hey, I'm here now. I want to rebuild. But instead of the welcome home party, she gets the cold shoulder. Now, I want to tell you, I'm going to speak to this person here now. I want to tell you something hard, but true. Some people love the idea of reconciliation until it requires them to do their own emotional work. It's very easy for people to point the finger and say, you chose him, it's your fault. And it's harder for them to look at their own self and say, we miss you and we don't know how to make sense of this, but we love you. And because we love you and because we are big boys and girls, we will manage our own stuff and not put that burden of our emotional issues onto you, because we recognize that you have your own stuff to take care of. So we're going to hold space for you and your healing. And then where we are feeling wounded by this abuser and what he did to our family, we'll get our own therapy and work on that ourselves. We're not going to put that on you to take care of and manage us as if we are small children who are unable to manage that for ourselves. Because here's the truth. You are not responsible for their healing. You can apologize, you can show up, you can make amends, but you cannot force someone to forgive you. And you shouldn't have to beg for grace. That's not what grace is. Now, I know this hurts. Of course, this hurts. Rejection from your family, especially when you're in the process of working hard to try to rebuild. It feels like you're being punished for your own trauma. And in my opinion, that is a special kind of cruel. And I know what that feels like. But also keep in mind, this family is emotionally immature and selfish. Holding your past over your head when you have made genuine efforts to reconcile, to be vulnerable, to come forward, that isn't just unfair, it's toxic. And if they are unwilling to extend grace now, when you're working hard on getting healthy and whole and honest, that says they might not be safe people yet, at least not for the version of you that you are now. So what do? Well, you turn your focus from them back to yourself and your own healing. You keep focusing on what you can control. You grieve what they can't give you. They are not capable of offering you what you need, at least not at this point in time. And you can build a new table. Imagine a table where your family is all around you. That's what we like to imagine. Like we are welcomed at this table with our family. Well, that's not the case with a lot of us, right? So you can build a new table and you have your chosen family at that table. Maybe they are friends who understand what recovery and grace and second chances are all about. And if your family of origin ever decides to step into that healing space, great, amazing. But if not, you still have a seat at that table. And that table's always going to belong to you. All right, here's the second question for today. Hi, my name is Natalie. Great name, by the way. And I live in Germany. I said the great name part. She didn't write that. I have a question. I am a Christian woman and I am 34 years old. And by the way, if you heard this on the podcast, her accent is absolutely phenomenal. And she speaks very clearly and articulately. She's she sounds amazing. I wish I could give her a big hug. But anyway, she continues on. I go to church every Sunday with my husband and my baby. And I've been attending this church for about 2 years now, but my husband has been attending this church for about 10 years. And this church is and in this church is a group of girls and women. And in total, there are 6 of them. And this church is not big. And there are not many people there. And I am not accepted in this group. They all reject me. They meet with their kids and they go to the park and they go on walks, but they reject me. I receive constant rejection from them. And I'm always wondering, why do they reject me? Because I'm a nice person. I'm friendly. I'm nice. I'm good. I help people. I'm loyal. I don't speak bad about people. I think that maybe there's some jealousy at the beginning. One of the girls from the group hated me. She didn't like me. I think she was jealous. And after that, nobody from the group has talked to me. I just feel rejection from them. I think they have gossiped. And from the first time, they didn't want me in the group and rejected me. And my question is this: what should I do? My husband says I have to ignore it. But I explained to him that I can't do that because I'm suffering and I want to find a new church. Of course, I'm afraid to go to a new church because I'm traumatized. Sometimes I think I'm going to receive the same treatment. What do you think? Please give me an answer. I'm sorry for my English. I wish I could send an understandable message. Thank you so very much. That's why I'm saying she was perfectly understandable and she was very articulate. So I just want to say, I want to say that. I want to speak to her right now. First of all, Natalie, your English is beautiful. Your message was perfectly clear, and you are in deep pain. You have experienced rejection, exclusion, and emotional isolation in a place that is supposed to represent the love and acceptance and peace of Jesus Christ. And your question is, what should I do? So let me first say this. You're not imagining things. This is a real experience, and you're not alone in this experience. Just because this is happening in a church does not make it any less harmful. In fact, I believe it makes it far more harmful and destructive because the betrayal hits different when it's wrapped up in a Bible verse and a fake smile. Now, your husband's advice is just ignore it. If only it were that easy. That's like telling someone who's got a gaping wound in their leg to just walk it off. Rejection in community, especially spiritual community, is very traumatizing. It can make you question your worth, your belonging, and sometimes even your faith. And also, we're going to talk about the jealousy theory here, because yes, it is possible that one woman felt threatened or insecure, and then she spread some gossip. And in a small church, that's all it takes. A whisper campaign can grow fast. And let me tell you something. If one person doesn't like you, that's life, right? But if an entire group turns cold for no reason, that's a culture problem. That's not a you problem. So what do? Well, here's the truth. You don't have to stay somewhere just because your husband has been there for 10 years. That's not really a good reason to stay. Loyalty to a building or a group of people that's your husband's people should never cost you your peace. And no amount of just ignore it advice is going to heal your soul. You are biblically allowed to seek fellowship with true followers of Jesus Christ who reflect the heart of Christ. You're allowed to leave. Just because a church says, we believe in Jesus, we're a Christian church, Christian meaning Christ follower, doesn't mean that they're actually following Christ. It could be filled with people who are not following Christ because they have they're too caught up in their own shame and their own brokenness. And that's all they can offer to you then. Their basically projecting their own shame onto you. You have become the scapegoat that they've put their sins upon and then sent you out emotionally, sent you away. That's a biblical concept. They used to take a goat, put the sins of the people on the goat, and then send the goat out of the city gates. That's where the term scapegoat came from. You're the scapegoat in that situation. That means they're not following Christ because Christ already took all of our sin upon himself. The good news is that we're free. We're forgiven. We're all free. They're free. You're free. Everyone's free. But they're not living in that because they're not actually following Jesus Christ. They don't actually believe. They're paying lip service to that idea, but they're not actually believing that in the core of their being so that they're free, so that the love of Christ can come bubbling up for themselves internally because they've experienced that internal healing. And then it bubbles up and it spills out on everyone around them. There's no jealousy because we all have everything. Our inheritance belongs to all of us. We are all beloved of Christ. We're all daughters of the living God. They're not experiencing that. They don't really believe it, so they can't offer that to you. So what's helped them to feel good is they have done what people throughout history have done. They are worshiping a god. It's just another god, small g. And then gods and goddesses, we need to appease those gods and goddesses. That's why I wrote the book, All the Scary Little Gods. Talks about this concept. So we need to appease them with sacrifices, with, doing certain things. There's a list of rules and regulations. And if you don't follow that, then you're in or you're out. And if you do follow it, however that particular culture or sect or cult has got it set up, if you do follow it, then you're in. That's not the gospel of Jesus Christ. He came and offered something completely different from that, something that is actually good news for all of us, including those poor women who have scapegoated you because they're living in their own sense of shame, right? So anyway, you are allowed to leave. I call it the poisoned pond. Fish can't live in a poisoned pond for too long. They'll eventually suffocate and die. You can jump over into a cleaner pond. And by the way, the pond doesn't have to be another church, because I can hear your fear. What if the next church is just the same? What if it happens again? It could happen again. It might not happen again. It really depends on the individual, the leadership of that church and the individuals and if they're really following Christ or not. Some are, some aren't. But that doesn't change how you get to show up for your own life and your opportunity to follow Christ. The Church of Jesus Christ is not in a building, and it's not an institutionalized religion. The Church of Jesus Christ is free roaming. It is in the hearts. That's what Jesus Christ came and taught us. It's in the hearts of people. My words are written on your hearts. You are a letter that tells the good news of Jesus Christ. You are the Church of Jesus Christ. And anyone that you meet who lives out and follows the love of Christ and spills over with the love of Christ for others, they are the Church of Jesus Christ as well. Everyone else is just pretending. I mean, it's hard to be around people who are pretending. Is it possible for you to go into a church that's pretending and be a missionary there, where you are loving them the way Christ would love them? I think it's possible. I also think that right now you're like a burn victim in the ICU, and you have burns covering, 75% of your body. And a burn victim, if you go up to a burn victim and you touch them with a feather, what's going to happen? Are they going to go, "Ooh, that tickles"? No, they're going to scream in agony. That's going to hurt a burn victim painfully. Also, I'd never go to you if you were a burn victim in the ICU and say, "Okay, we're going to run a marathon in 6 months. We're going to get you ready for a marathon. Let's get you to the gym and start working out." Would I do that? No. Being a missionary to a church that's not following Christ, that is way harder than running a marathon. So I'm never going to say to a victim of spiritual abuse, let's get in there and be, including myself. I don't expect that of myself. I don't go to church anymore. I don't expect that. I don't want to do that. It's not my calling. But if it's someone else's calling, it is possible that it could be someone else's calling, that you are called to be a missionary in a very, very dark corner of the world. It's so dark because they believe that they've got the truth. They believe they've got the truth, but they're following a twisted version of the truth. And it's leading so many people into so much shame and tremendous fear. And the fruit is just rotten to the core. I've watched it. I'm almost 50. I'll be 59 years old this year, and I've watched it my entire life. So again, I write about that in my story, All the Scary Little Gods. But so I'm not going to tell you to go back to that church and be a missionary. I'm going to say heal, do your healing work. You stay in the ICU. You do whatever it takes to heal your body so that you can get stronger spiritually and emotionally and psychologically. All right. Because you're a mother, you've got a baby, and your healing is going to impact your child. So you stay focused on that. That child is your mission field right now. Your family is your mission field right now. And you see if you can find a church, if you can, that's healthy and that's going to help you heal, that's life-giving, that's going to be Jesus, the hands and the feet of Jesus Christ, the way a nurse would be in the ICU. Okay. Those nurses, oh my gosh. I have only met one bad nurse. All the rest of them, and I've met lots and lots of nurses. I've experienced them personally, and they are amazing human beings. The one nurse that was not amazing, she was an older lady. I won't go into that story, but there was one dud. Otherwise, imagine nurses like missionaries, all right? Just loving the people that they're taking care of and taking care of them so well. That's what you need right now. And if you can't find that in a church, maybe there are other places that you can find that. Surprising places where you can find that. I know for sure one place where you can find that. You can find that in my Flying Free community, because that's what we're trying to be. We are trying to follow Jesus Christ and trying to be a support and an encouragement to one another, and accept people where they're at in the journey instead of judging them and telling them that they should be further along or they should be here or they should be there. We accept people where they're at in the journey, and we just love them where they're at, because that's what Jesus did. So if it's good enough for Jesus, if he thinks that's pretty wise, then I guess I think that's pretty wise too. And that's the kind of culture that I have tried to cultivate in our community for the past 8 years. You could join that. It's $29 a month or $290 for a year. And in Flying Higher, we actually meet every other Sunday morning. We do Bible studies, like empowering, life-giving Bible studies. And many of us, that's our church. So if you're interested in that, you can learn more about Flying Free by going to joinflyingfree.com. And you can learn more about Flying Higher by going to joinflyinghigher.com. All right. But staying in a toxic environment because you're afraid of the next one, that's like refusing to leave a burning house because the last one also had fire damage. Sometimes the only way to heal is to maybe take a risk walking into something or trying something new. So here's what I suggest. First of all, give yourself permission to grieve. I don't think it's petty to say this hurts. That's not petty. No way. This is not just women being women. All right. Oh, women can just be catty sometimes. No, these are women who claim to be followers of Christ. This is spiritual and emotional rejection. This is grief. This is a loss. So you can name it. Secondly, you can try to talk to your husband again. I don't know if he's emotionally abusive or controlling. I don't know what he's like or anything, but you could try to let him know how deeply this is hurting you. And if he still doesn't get it, maybe bring in a therapist if you have one, or you could possibly get one. But whatever the case might be, you do deserve support in this. If you are wondering if your relationship is unhealthy, get my book. Is It Me Making Sense of Your Confusing Marriage? A Christian Woman's Guide to Hidden Emotional and Spiritual Abuse. I'll give you the free chapter and a free chapter of the coordinating workbook if you go to my website, flyingfreenow.com, and just go right there. And right on the top is a place where you can get on my mailing list. And I will send you that free stuff. I'll send you all kinds of resources if you hop on my mailing list. And then number 3, you could explore other church options. I would go gently on yourself. Just visit quietly. Make your observations, feel it out. You don't have to commit right away. Trust your gut. If you're going to a church and you're feeling panicky inside, ask yourself why. Why am I feeling panicky? There's got to be a reason why I'm feeling panicky. We in Flying Free, I teach a tool that helps you figure out why you're feeling certain things, and that helps you drill down so you can get insight into your subconscious thinking that's causing you to have triggers, and so that you can actually figure that out and then decide if you want to keep the programming that you have or not. So that's something where I could help you with that as well. And then finally, just remember who you are. You're not less than. Just because they're projecting their view of themselves onto you doesn't mean that that's how God looks at you. You are not unlovable and you are not rejected by God. These women do not get the final say on your identity. That belongs to Jesus Christ alone. And you know what I know about him? He doesn't play clique games. So that's all I have for you for today. Until next time, fly free.